Welcome back, everyone. Now, let's go ahead and do a comparison in 2021 of the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone XR in this day and age. Now, both these phones are kind of old, not super old. The iPhone 11 Pro is the newer one, and if you have all the money in the world, getting the 11 Pro is the better way. But the iPhone XR is still a great phone in so many different areas, and there really isn't one that's like exponentially crazier than the other one, but the iPhone 11 Pro definitely is a better phone. If you want to pick up either one of these things, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, there are some differences. The iPhone 11 Pro is a little bit of a smaller device. You do have that 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display on the iPhone 11 Pro. It's a very good panel. It's OLED, so the blacks are deep blacks, the notch up top. Really, everything about this phone is perfect in my opinion in terms of a display. The only things it's missing is like, Touch ID and also 120 hertz, and obviously no notch as well. But the iPhone XR, they both have the same thing going on. So the panel of the 11 Pro is really, really good. The iPhone XR has a 6.1-inch IPS panel, and the resolution is lower, but it's still a pretty good panel. Like, I really have few things to complain about this specific device. It's definitely not perfect, but I do think this panel overall is still extremely good. And I think, if you have an iPhone XR, I wouldn't just go and upgrade to the iPhone 11 Pro just based off the panel, but this is a really good panel. It's definitely better on the 11 Pro than the XR. In terms of thinness and thickness, I kind of think that the 11 Pro is a little bit thicker, but they both are kind of the same. I think the 11 Pro feels a little bit thicker though. And on the back, glass backs on both, as you guys can see. But the 11 Pro does have that frosted glass back, which immediately makes it so much better. Like, you can tell there's a really big difference, even in terms of the sunlight. Look how the sun is reflecting on the XR. While the 11 Pro just kind of blends in. Obviously, over the camera, there's a little bit of difference, but definitely the 11 Pro is far better in terms of a feeling in the hand. IP certification on both single camera setup on the XR, triple camera setup on the 11 Pro, lightning ports on the bottom, and that essentially covers it up in terms of the outside of both these phones. Now, in terms of software, this is probably the bigger difference between these two devices. Because the 11 Pro is the newer device by a year, more particularly, most possibly, the 11 Pro is going to outlast the iPhone XR, which I think is a good thing. I mean, if it lasts longer, then go for it. I would have loved to see, iPhone 7 maybe get like a ton more updates, and then the 11 Pro maybe will get more. But we're too early in the lifespan for the XR or the 11 Pro for us to determine which one is going to match up. And the reason I brought up the iPhone 7 is because the 6S and the 7 right now are the lowest supported iPhones, and if they both end off in the same version, then most possibly, both these phones will probably end up on the same version as well. Maybe, again, I don't know, but that is a big possibility. So in terms of software, we don't know 100%, but we will see in the future, within a couple of years from now, what's going to happen between these two devices. Battery life, though, pretty big difference between these two. Actually, they have almost the same size battery within them, but I have found that my XR has really good battery life, but my iPhone 11 Pro had amazing battery life in it for the whole entire duration of me using it. I use this phone as a daily phone, and I can definitely tell you both these phones have really good battery life, and I don't think I would go from one phone to the other just based off the battery life itself, although there are other things that I would go and upgrade to. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these iPhones. The XR has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 11 Pro has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, all the apps are cleared out in the background, as you guys can see. Let's start loading some things up. Let's just load up some third-party apps that we already have here. So let's scroll to the end, and this is probably the easier way to do it. Let's get into Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. And definitely, I think the XR was faster there a little bit, or the XR was a little bit slower, not that big of a difference. Let's do Dropbox. 3, 2, 1. And the 11 Pro definitely was faster there. Hopping out of this one, let's do SoundCloud. 3, 2, 1. And we are on airplane mode here, so let me go and hop out of here. Let's get into Temple Run 1. 3, 2, 1. Now, this game has a lot of issues, so I guess we'll see if it loads up into the actual game itself so you can see. But we did end up getting into the game itself faster on the iPhone 11 Pro, so that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Let's get into something like Paper.io, if I even have that here, so I do not. Let's do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And we are in two different versions, but still, to load up on the 11 Pro was pretty much far faster than the one on the iPhone XR. Hopping out of this one, let's get into the next one, which is Stack. 3, 2, 1. And I don't know which one is the faster one here. They both were fairly close. This one didn't have an ad. Let's get into some gameplay and see if there's a difference. And I don't think there's going to be. There's a little bit of glitching on the iPhone XR, though, I realized. I don't know if that's just this phone itself, but that is something I just noticed. Hopping out of this specific app, let's get into Thank You. 3, 2, 1. That one was a little bit harder to do. And you can see definitely the iPhone 11 Pro was faster there. The iPhone XR a little bit slower. Getting into some gameplay. As always, I don't think there's going to be like a crazy big difference, but it's always interesting to see the difference between these two devices. You can see pretty much the same as that gameplay. Getting into Snake versus Blocks. 3, 2, 1. And you can see the iPhone 11 Pro was far faster there than the iPhone XR. Getting into some gameplay, see if there's a difference. And as always, I really don't think there's going to be that big of a difference, but it looks like, yeah, about the same thing. Hopping out of this one, let's go and end it off with another one. Let's just try Temple Run 2 if that even loads up. 3, 2, 1. And you can see again the iPhone 11 Pro is the faster one here. The iPhone XR a little bit slower, and the iPhone XR is on the right, in case I didn't mention that in the beginning with. And the XR definitely took a long amount of time. I'm not too sure why this happened. Sometimes things go back and forth, so it's totally okay. And to be honest, I'm glad the iPhone 11 Pro was the faster one here. I want it to be the faster one at the end of the day. So ultimately, I think, yes, the iPhone 11 Pro is the faster iPhone, but the iPhone XR still did a really good job as well. I guess that covers it up in the speed comparison. Now let's go ahead and I guess quickly hit on the cameras. So on the back, the iPhone XR has that single 12 megapixel lens. The iPhone 11 Pro has that triple camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 12 megapixel telephoto lens. And I was going to do a showcase of the videos, but there's not really that big of a point. Both can do 4K at 60, which is very important. But again, when you have an iPhone 11 Pro that has that triple camera setup, this is a massive difference. This is probably one of the bigger differences between these two phones. You want an iPhone that's essentially going to be able to be, like the best camera that you can get for the value. And in this specific case, the iPhone 11 Pro is the far better lens. Although the iPhone XR's camera is still very good, the iPhone 11 Pro's is definitely better. And that's also showcased on the front as well. You both have, single camera sensors and nothing like super crazy, but you do have the ability of doing 4K at 60 on the iPhone 11 Pro, where the iPhone XR only has 1080p at 60. So that's another pretty big thing. When you get a phone, you want it to be, again, like the best camera. And in this specific case, it does look like the iPhone XR isn't as good as something like the iPhone 11 Pro. So keep that in mind. But that essentially covers it in this specific camera, comparison mini one, I guess. So now to kind of sum up the video and to answer the question, should you go and buy an iPhone XR or should you buy an iPhone 11 Pro in 2021? Well, this is essentially what I'll tell you. I think the iPhone 11 Pro is definitely the far better iPhone you should pick up. It doesn't really make a crazy amount of sense to buy something like an iPhone XR if you can afford it and buy something like an iPhone 11 Pro. This phone is definitely far faster. It has a lot more going for it. It's definitely the more premium device, has far better cameras. The performance is amazing. And like I mentioned, there's very few things to complain about with this specific iPhone. It's very fast and it's going to be supported potentially longer than the iPhone XR. But the iPhone XR is a cheaper iPhone, and rightfully so. It's cheaper to buy, but it doesn't really cut corners in a lot of areas. Of course, the camera isn't as good as the 11 Pros, the screen isn't as good as the 11 Pros, but it's still a very good phone. Like, don't get it twisted. This is a very, very good phone still, and that is one of the best advantages of the iPhone XR. This is, in my opinion, like one of the best budget iPhones you can buy. It's not the best iPhone ever, but for the price tag, for $499, even cheaper in the used market, this is a solid phone in my opinion. It just so happens that when it comes down to both of these, the iPhone 11 Pro is the better phone, as it should be. It's a flagship phone, but the iPhone XR is still a very decent phone in my opinion. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up there. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.